Hi, Zeus here. I beat global number one 7 times in 6 days using a variety of different combat troops, including Melon Bombardiers, and he had different bases that I also beat, and I wanted to show you how I did it. So, global number one, which is a Chinese player whose in game name means mineral water, populated on my base, and he's got a base currently with 2 rear grapplers and a laser beam, and there's 2 shock mines here in the front of the base that you need to be concerned about. He's got 3 shock mines in the back there with the grapplers, and I'm not really sure where the last shock mine went. It used to be next to the grappler right behind the HQ. And of course, I was so distracted by looking for the 6th shock mine that I forgot to throw down artillery to take out the 2 shock mines on the right hand side that I should have. So, not a very good start to my attack on global number one here. I land 3 Scorchers, center, left, and right. The one center to try to distract the laser. And I land the bulk of my offensive punch troops on the far right side behind the Scorcher and the mech there. So the grappler right behind the HQ grabbed a couple of my Scorchers, which then I allowed to get grabbed by the grappler, the back. And I threw down some smoke there, and that's a good strategy because what's going to happen is a bunch of damage dealing heavy health troops are going to get grabbed under the smoke there. Threw down a box of critters to distract the single shot weapons there, like the cannon and the boom cannon, just as the smoke was clearing. And the Scorchers that are captured by the grappler are starting to deal some damage there. The lasers and the bombardiers are reducing the troops near the core and the grappler right behind the core. I threw down a shock on the rear grappler so that the troops there could finish it off, and the lasers are shooting through the core and clearing the last of the defenses. Now, the key in the end game here is deciding what to do. Do I need to go after the shield gen, or can I just sit? And the answer is dependent upon how many bombardiers I have and how many laser rangers survive. And I've got enough here to take out the shield gen without taking a risky flare. So I just sit, and this base is beat. Now, I made some mistakes in this attack. I didn't take out the 2 shock mines at the beginning on the right side that I should have. I did not throw down the smoke fast enough or shock on the rear grappler fast enough to protect my Scorchers in the rear, and I lost a few Scorchers because I didn't consistently smoke.
The next day.
But a win's a win. So the very next day, global number one shows up again on my map. And the base is no different, but this time he's got 10 boosted ice. And there's those shock mines that I need to remember to BART out at the beginning. The 10 boosted ice is materially harder to beat than the 9 boosted ice. You'd think it wasn't, but it actually is. I still can't find the 6th shock mine. Not sure where he's hidden it. At any rate, with 7 boosted offensive statues to beat this 10 boosted ice base, my attack's going to have to be perfect. So off I go. And of course, again, I forgot to use artillery to take out those 2 shock mines on the right side. This time I got the shock and the smoke down on the grapplers in the rear timely, so that's very helpful. And I threw down a critter box in the rear to trigger the shock mines back there too, because when the smoke is released, I want those troops to deal damage to the Scorcher and the other defenses there. So I threw down some more smoke. Of course, I forgot to continuously smoke, so that's the second error on this attack. But my troops continued to advance. I threw down a box of critters just before the smoke was released to distract the cannon and the boom cannon that are near the HQ so that my Scorchers can last longer. And meanwhile, the Laser Rangers are shooting through. The mechs on the left side have again devastated his boom cannons and now are clearing shocking one of the shock launchers. And I've got a shock down, which was long enough to allow that mech to clear the last grappler. And shooting through the core, again, my Laser Rangers are clearing all the defenses. So despite the 10 boosted ice and the 2 mistakes I made, I'm going to again beat this base.
A few moments later.
Landing the troops on the right side, far right side, the main damage dealing troops, is necessary against this base, because if you try it on the left, it doesn't work and you fizzle. And I've tried a whole bunch of different things against Global Number 1 over the last few months, and those are some things that I've learned along the way.
The next day.
So when you know, but Global Number 1 comes on my map for the 3rd day in a row. And the good news is this time I'm going to show you what a perfect attack looks like against this base, doing everything in the correct sequence. So I'm starting out artillery to take out those 2 shock mines. Now why is that important? Because you want your Scorchers and mechs, and primarily the mechs, to advance and shock your opponent's defenses. Notice the laser goes after the Scorchers in the middle. I got the shock down before it grabbed any of my Scorchers on that grappler just behind the core, and I got a second shock down to grab it. Now the first Scorcher gets grabbed by the grappler in the rear, which is okay. I throw down some smoke timely so it doesn't get blown up. I throw down a critter box to trigger the mines that are there so that they're not there when the smoke releases, and it doesn't stop my Scorchers and other troops from dealing damage. And now I've released the smoke, and because my troops got to the core faster, it's okay to release the smoke then and there, and the mechs are shocking the cannon on the right and the boom cannon on the right, and everything's going beautifully with this attack. That mech that just got grabbed by the grappler is probably going to be able to finish the grappler off. Just a little bit short, but again, the lasers firing through took care of it. And this base is beaten.
A few moments later.
And the reason why I was confident that I didn't need to do a flare to the shield gen was that I got 3 Bombardiers and 15 Laser Rangers to the core. Now, I did lose 1 Laser Ranger on the mortar on the right and 2 Laser Rangers to the boom cannon on the left while they were knocking the HQ down, but it's a win.
The next day.
So the 4th day in a row, Global Number 1 is populated on my base, and now I'm going to show you how to beat Global Number 1 using Melon Bombardiers and how powerful they are in attacks. I'm just going to throw 1 boat of Melon Bombardiers in on this attack instead of normally the regular Bombardiers that I was using. Again, the same base design that he's got, hasn't changed anything. So I'm going to put my troops in. Of course, I've already made my first mistake because I did not remember to use artillery to take out those 2 shock mines on the right. So things are going well. In the beginning here, the lasers going after the Scorchers in the middle, threw down the shock on the grappler just behind the core. Threw down smoke when the rear grappler grabbed my first Scorcher and threw down a critter box on that rear grappler. Throwing down some more shocks to make sure that the grappler just behind the core doesn't grab anymore. And I released everything from the smoke. Having a little bit of trouble on the left. My mechs got knocked down, and we've got 2 boom cannons still going, so that's a problem. But two mechs and all the Laser Rangers are at the core, and the Melon Bombardiers are going to town. Now, what happens here is the Melon Bombardiers have an initial damage and then shrapnel damage, which very quickly clears all of the defenses immediately around the core. Now, I still have those boom cannons on the left, which are problematic, and I lost my Kavan to the Grappler, but the Scorchers there cleared the rear Grappler. So some of my mistakes that I made are coming back to haunt me, but I do have two Melon Bombardiers left, and there are no rocket launchers to reach them. So here's where the end game gets very important, right? So I'm going to flare the two Melon Bombardiers to a spot out of range of the sniper tower and that mortar, and then I'm going to hope that they will clear those three defenses there and I can get access to the shield gen. With a minute 47 seconds left, it's enough time to beat this base if I'm careful and I can get both Bombardiers through to the end with the shield gen cleared and them addressing the HQ directly. So I've cleared the three defenses and now flared to the shield gen in the far right corner. Threw down a health pack to make sure that they have full health. And now I'm going to flare them back to a spot out of range of any of the defenses and where they naturally will drift up to the HQ. Now those boom cannons behind the HQ can't reach them from this spot, and those Melon Bombardiers will beat this base.
A few moments later.
So despite my error at the beginning and not taking out those two shock mines and the bad luck with how the mechs got knocked down on the left and those boom cannons survived, I still was able to win because of the power of those Melon Bombardiers.
The next day.
So this is now the 5th day in a row that Global Number 1 has populated on my map. And I'm going to try something completely new. I've never tried this before. I'm going to use 3 Scorchers, 2 mechs, and 3 Melon Bombardiers. And I'm going to try to take Global Number 1 out with a brute force attack, even though he's got 2 rear grapplers, a laser, and 9 boosted ice. So how does this attack work? So I'm going to land the same spread of Scorcher far left, Scorcher far right, Scorcher in the middle, and then I'm going to land the Melon Bombardiers right and left out of the way of the laser. And I'm going to see if the power of the Melon Bombardiers can't just power through this base and just blow it up. Like I said, I've never tried this attack on a 9 boosted ice base with 2 rear grapplers, but we're going to see if it works. So I've got smoke down on the rear grappler and hitting second wind with Kavan as often as I can. And the attack's going beautifully. Like all of the defenses up to the core are already cleared. And I'm going to release the Scorchers from the smoke in the rear. And meanwhile, now the Melon Bombardiers are clearing all the defenses around the HQ. Everything's now cleared. The only thing I need to do now is decide whether I want to flare to clear the grappler or just let the Melon Bombardiers go. And I just chose to let the Melon Bombardiers go. Even though the grappler survived, the amount of damage and the rate of the damage coming from 9 Melon Bombardiers was rapidly reducing both the shield and the health of the HQ. So that was fun. So that's the 5th day in a row, and I am guessing that Global Number 1 is tired of seeing me in his attack log.
The next day.
So it's the 6th day in a row now that Global Number 1 has populated on my map. And I guess he's gotten frustrated with the number of times he's been beaten with the base that he had. And with the expiration of his shield gen, he chose to go with a rear right corner base. So I'm going to use the same troops that I used in the last attack, which is 3 Scorchers, 2 mechs, and 3 Melon Bombardiers to beat his rear right corner base. Now, attacking a base like this needs to be done very carefully, and you have to pick it apart at the beginning by taking out the 4 defenses that are on the far right side, the flamethrower, the mortar, the boom cannon, and that critter launcher. And you got to be very careful because right behind that giant statue is a laser. So you have to put your Melon Bombardiers in off shifted position off to the left of where you put in your Scorchers and the mechs. And as soon as those 4 defenses are cleared, you flare to the left, to the far left, to get your troops all the way over to the far left side. And notice I'm putting in the Laser Rangers on a very delayed basis. After they go after and clear those defenses on the far left side around the corner there, I throw down a shock on the amplified rocket launcher, amplified cannon, and amplified boom cannon there. And that's going to prevent the amplified rocket launcher from clearing my riflemen that are shielding the Laser Rangers. As the Grappler grabs my first Scorcher, I throw down a shock on it and some smoke to prevent it from grabbing more of my troops. Threw down another shock and some more smoke. I lost my Kavan, that's not good. Really wanted to get at least another second wind out of him. And I threw down a shock on the rocket launcher and shock blaster there, and threw down some smoke to allow the Grappler to grab a bunch of my frontline troops. Another very problematic thing here is the rocket launcher that's at the bottom, so I'm going to try to clear that with a BART, which was successful. I threw down another shock on the boom cannon and Grappler, and threw down a box of critters to distract the Grapplers so that it goes after the critters and not any more of my frontline troops, which I absolutely need to keep in front, or else the shock launcher is going to knock out the remaining damage-dealing troops. This battle could end up either way because the Grappler's still not down. I may end up losing this fight if I can't clear this Grappler really fast. I throw down a couple of artillery and it goes down, luckily. And the boom cannon is still distracted by those 5 critters that survived to the end. And so with just 1 Melon Bombardier left, I was able to knock down the base and get the win. Kind of an ugly win, but still, win's a win. Anyway, I'll take it.
The next day.
So now it's the 7th day in a row that Global Number 1 has populated on my map. And I'm showing you here my 7 offensive boosted statues that I'm using to take him out. This time he's got the rear right corner base again, but he's added a 10th boosted ice statue. So again, I land my 1 boat of mechs, 1 boat of Scorchers, and 2 boats of Melon Bombardiers offset to the left so that they don't get hit by the laser shooting through the mechs and the Scorchers. And as soon as those defenses are down, I flare to the left. That worked out really well. I throw down the last boat of mechs and the 2 boats remaining of Scorchers. And then on a very delayed basis, the last boat, which is a boat of Laser Rangers. The attack's going very well. I've got the troops attacking the defenses on the far left. I've got the shock on the amplified rocket launcher, boom cannon, and cannon. I've got a shock down on the laser and the 2 cannons there. And the Grappler grabs the first Scorcher. I throw down some smoke. I throw down a shock. It's grabbed 2 Scorchers under the smoke. And now I'm going to throw down a shock on the shock blaster and the amplified boom cannon there. Throw down some more smoke so that the Grappler continues to grab and collect my troops, but not kill them. My Kavan's got good health this time, so the attack's going very well. And we've almost cleared we've shocked, and now we're clearing the shock blaster. I'll throw down another shock. The rocket launcher on the far right at the bottom is now cleared, which is awesome. And the shock launcher at top is distracted by the troops at top and not going after the troops that are next to the grappler, which is excellent because that means that they get to clear the grappler. And this base is beaten, even though he has amped up. Global number 1 has amped up to 10 boosted ice, and it's just materially more difficult. And look at that, I got 4 crystals, large crystals, for my effort in beating his base. So unfortunately I'm out of gold, so I'm going to use the trader to get some more gold. I've got tons of wood, stone, and iron, and so with a couple of swaps out on the trader offers, I get all the gold I want.
Later.
So to add insult to injury, global number 1 has populated on my map for a second time within a few hours.
A few moments later.
However, he's online, and so I can't attack him, so I had to go offline for a while, and now I'm back online. He's back to having 9 boosted ice. So this time I'm going to use a different set of troops. I'm going to use 3 Scorchers, 1 mech, 2 Melon Bombardiers, and 2 Laser Rangers. And I'm going to see if this combination is better or worse than the other combination that I was using to go against him when he had 10 boosted ice. Now he's back to 9 boosted ice. So I flare to the defenses on the far left, and then I throw down the suppressing shock on the rocket launcher amplified cannon, amplified boom cannon. Throw down a suppressing shock on the laser and the 2 cannons there, and the grappler's going, and a little bit slow to get the smoke down. My first Scorcher got blown up. These grab my Kavan, the grapplers grab my Kavan, but I used that opportunity to trigger second wind underneath the smoke to get some more troops there. And I continue to throw down shocks on the grappler so that it doesn't grab any more of my Melon Bombardiers or lasers. And the Melon Bombardiers are just decimating his defenses. I'm almost up to the shock launcher. I'm going to throw down a Bart with the hope of clearing some more of the defenses, throw down some critters. And the Melon Bombardiers are directly on the grappler now, and the grappler is cleared. So I got 4 Melon Bombardiers through for the win. So I think this technique is maybe not as good as the one that I used on the last attack, but it was a fun experiment, and that is now the 8th time that I've beat global number 1 in 7 days. And here is the stats on the max level Melon Bombardier. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give this video a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel so you're alerted when new videos come out. And thanks as always to Hercules for help with the video editing.